Hi, guys, and welcome to the Walk With Me podcast with Jay, and today with Kate Northrup. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
So tell us, where are you walking today? You and I are both already out walking. Where are you at?
I
You already cut out.
okay. Okay.
There you
Now
are.
is it okay? Are we? Oh my gosh. All
Yes,
right. Fingers
this will be
crossed.
fun.
Oh geez. I think we should be okay. But if it becomes a problem, you let me know.
Okay, I will. You
Great.
sound great right now. So we
Okay.
missed it though. Where are you walking?
Oh, I'm walking in my neighborhood. I just left my house and yeah, that's where I am.
Me too. I decided I was down by the beach, but it's too windy. So I'm
Oh
actually
yeah.
just enjoying my own backyard today.
Oh nice.
Walking around here. I know
Lovely.
it's totally different to do it this way, but I thought about a picture you posted once. I know you've been, first of all, for everybody joining us on this walk, hi. I hope you guys are out walking too. And if you don't know who Kate Northrup is, I am so excited for you to be on this walk with us today. Kate is an entrepreneur who supports ambitious women in lighting up the world without burning out. She's also the CEO of Origin Collective, which helps women to achieve more by doing less. She's the author of Money, a Love Story, which is an amazing book, and more recently, the author of Do Less. And most importantly, she's a woman who I know to not only have a big mission, message, work that she's doing in the world, but also really walks her talk and lives her message and strives to be and practice what she's teaching behind the scenes, which is not always the case with people who are in the opportunity to be in leadership. So I'm so excited to have you guys on this walk with us and to be with you, Kate,
Thank you.
today. Hi. So, Kate, you and I met when I was in a similar stage of life that I'm in now.
Yeah.
We met, which and it was literally 4 years ago. We both met in Costa Rica. I think we were in our beginning of our second trimester of being pregnant, you with
Yep.
Penelope and me with Violet. And I was thinking before getting on with you how funny it is that 4 years later, I'm kind of right in that space again. And picked up your book, Do Less, to read it, just because it felt aligned in life right now. And,
Mm-hmm.
to prepare for talking with you about this beautiful piece of work that you've put out in the world. And here I am kind of, when we go in that spiral loop, it's like, of course, over 4 years, I've collected so many resources and changed and grown so much. And I've kind of like spiraled up and I'm facing some of the similar, I just recognize some of the beliefs and shifts and changes that I'm going through, of course, in a new way.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you about that selfishly for myself as we catch up, because it relates to your message in Do Less. I have kind of uncovered, and as I've been walking with the women in this podcast who are going through this journey with me, that as I'm entering motherhood for the second time, which you did, how old is Ruby now?
Ruby is 14 months.
Okay, so which you entered into 14 months ago. I'm seeing that I'm uncovering this belief that I relate doing less, which is a really divinely orchestrated desire right now, which I'm seeing in a lot of women, to slow down and savor life and simplify it. And I'm seeing this in women who are driven women who also have big work they know they came here to do in this lifetime. And I have uncovered this kind of idea that creating and innovating or doing something new, particularly in business, is going to require me to do more. And that's kind of what my business is asking of me right now. It's like, in order to keep it growing, it's going to require new creativity and innovation. And I have this belief that that means doing more. So as I'm thinking about doing less, and everything in my intuition, in my life is calling me to actually slow down and do less, I realize that then I relate doing less to somewhat of being in just maintenance mode. I go into this
Yeah.
belief of like, okay, fine, I'll do less as long as I can just keep everything that I hustled to create, and I'll totally try on this new way of life of doing less, but just like this kind of, it feels a little more fearful based, or the energy of maintenance mode does not feel great. So I just wonder what you know about that, and walking your talk in this area and being a voice for this, about being able to do less while still having that feeling of exponential growth and creativity and thriving, and not just being in what I've labeled subconsciously maintenance mode.
Okay, this is a great question, and it really gets to the heart of the main fear and the main pushback of do less, which is, well, I can't do less because I won't be as successful as I want to be. So here's the deal. We have all been brainwashed by our culture to think the more we work, the more successful we'll be. And so, of course, we have built our realities that way, because I have plenty of examples I can give you of working more and being more successful, right? I'm sure you can too. However, what is so fascinating about cycles and seasons and the way our bodies work and brains work and the way nature works, which, by the way, our bodies are made of nature, and therefore our creativity and our energy for work is also made of nature. So it's all the same thing. When we focus on funneling our creative energies into something new, we do also need to make choices about what those things are, so that our creative, innovative energy, building something new, growing, scaling, multiplying, is more powerful. What ends up happening is most women think that in order to be as successful as they want to be, they need to do more. Now, I will say, here's what's accurate about that. In order to be more successful, we do need to focus more. So that is a more thing that we need to do. And we also need to be more creative and more innovative, but we don't have to do more things. So the downfall is thinking the more projects I do, the more initiatives I do, the more strategies I employ, the more successful I will be. And that is wrong, because what ends up happening is when we spread ourselves thin like that, we are like, it's like pretend that your business growth is symbolized by you trying to spray dirt off your patio. Okay,
or off our children,
or
when
off
they run
our children caked with mud.
Yes,
right.
They've been in that moment with you before.
We have, yeah, we know what this. Yeah, it was crazy. So the version of success is the patio or the child are clean. Now, when you use the fines mist setting on your hose,
yes,
it takes freaking forever to get the baby clean or get the dirt off the patio. In fact, it never does happen. It just gets watered down and bogged down, and just like the dirt sits there, but it's just wetter. Versus if you use the power spray setting, then the dirt is gone in like 2 seconds and you have a clean patio. Now, I don't think you would power spray your child. So that's where the analogy goes off. But
okay, I see. Because I think we tried that on the girls and they just screamed.
They freaked out. So it's not. So anyway, that our analogy broke down. But
don't use this on humans.
For the patio, it works. So basically, what I'm saying is, if you want to be more successful, grow your business, you need to pare it down. And yes, some things do need to go into maintenance mode. And then that one thing that you're going to give your extra heart and soul to gets the best of you, instead of all of it getting a half-assed, half-baked version of you that can't really show up, in which case everything, including your marriage and parenting, will feel like a slog.
So how does that, when I hear that, what I think then is, what does that look like when you're feeling like you don't want to give up one or the other? Like you want to go all in, let's say for me, with an infant, and you still want energy and love and passion and creativity to be going toward your business and work in the world.
Well, I would have to ask you a specific question around what your plans are for your postpartum period with this baby.
Right. And so it's a matter of creating that focus. So so I'm reading the 40 days, the fourth trimester, over the 40 days after.
Yeah, the first 40 days, so good.
Yeah. So my plan is like the first 40 days are just all about support, nurturing, healing, being quiet. It's after that where the maintenance mode belief comes in.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just going to be really honest. When we have young children, they take a lot. And so when I look out at the world, I notice that there are other entrepreneurs who are friends of mine who do not have young children, who are doing things that I am not currently in this season of my life to do. Now, that being said, the year I was pregnant with Ruby and gave birth to her and was in the postpartum period, kept our business up at 7 figures. And also my husband was really sick. And so we had a lot going on. And
I witnessed you innovated a lot in that time as well. I saw you innovate and create a lot of new things.
We did. And I am proud to say I didn't get sick and I didn't get burned out. And I'm a little more than 2 months post book launch and I feel fabulous. So now, of course, I had moments, right? I haven't felt fabulous every day. But basically what I'm saying is you got to get your boundaries in place. So, these are my hours for work. These are my hours for family. And stop your work time when you're done and be present with your kids, because the kiss of death, or be present with whoever, right? Not everyone listening has children, obviously. The kiss of death is trying to do both at the same time, which will fry all your wires. And it's the same thing as driving your car with the gas and brake on at the same time. It's not good for your transmission. So, and you'll burn out your car. You'll burn out your engine. So the way I was able to craft all of that is I knew this year the main focus was the book. It was my family and my own health and the book. I wasn't also, I wasn't also thinking, okay, let me also train for a marathon, or let me also be the head of the volunteer committee for this thing. Let me also keep a perfect home. Let me also try to lose all my baby weight in 6 weeks. None of those things were also happening. And I got a lot of support and help. We hired somebody this year to help us cook. I had a lot, so there is here's the thing though, when we focus in and know what matters and we go all in on that, and it can be a few things, obviously, because it's not like it can be only your business or your kids. When we do that and we actually do slow down and savor and make the space to take a walk in the woods or sit in our closet and meditate or whatever it is that we do, our innovative, that's what I do, our powers of innovation and creativity and powers of prosperity attraction get so much stronger, because when we stop the doing, it's like, it's like if you're at the beach and you dig a hole and you've created now space. And now when the next wave comes in, it fills that hole really fast. It's like a vacuum. It just whooshes in. That's what happens taking a pause, taking a walk, sitting and meditating, taking a week off, staring at the wall and not doing anything. Like that's digging the hole so that your energy, which is the ocean, whooshes in and fills the vacuum. But if you are constantly doing, there's no space for innovation. There's no space for creativity. There's no space for wisdom or insight. It all gets edged out. And the constant doing and pushing is actually how we keep ourselves small. So it's, yeah, you can reach a certain amount of success just through the pure hustle. You absolutely can. And then there's a limit. And there's a certain moment where there's a diminishing law of rate of return, and you start holding yourself back by being overly busy.
I had this vision come to mind. I was doing a call with my mastermind women, and we were talking about all the things we hold as women. And I actually, during the call, just was like, let's just really try to feel this out, how it feels. So I just started picking up things on my desk to represent things. So like picking up the stapler and like, this is my husband, picking up the notepad and the book. This is my daughter. This is my business. This is the dishes. This is the school schedule. And one of the things I picked up was a glass of water and labeled that something, and then kind of so it's almost like I'm seeing that visual again as you're speaking and noticing that maintenance mode is actually more true when we're doing more, because we don't have any extra hands. There's no space.
Yeah.
We're totally full and limited, and dropping it, which I did on the call. And I thought it was kind of a beautiful example because I forgot I was holding a glass of water. I literally just dropped everything and the glass broke in front of like 20 women. And I was like, you know what? But that's what it might feel like at first. It's a little scary and it's a lot, and you have to like drop it and make a mess, and then you're free. And so I have it kind of, the visual is maintenance mode is really what's caused by all the holding of doing all the things. The focus and the clarity gives you that freedom to have space to innovate and play and create.
Yeah. And there's something I just want to give a tactical tip, if that's okay. Because we've been talking more philosophically, but here's an example of how this really went down in our company recently. You know, there's all sorts of things we do every week. There's weekly deliverables. There's a podcast. There's a blog. There's social media graphics. There's origin content, my membership. There's, promotions that we have going on. There's there's stuff, right? So that's maintenance mode. So what we began to look at, we started implementing a company-wide scorecard, which we got this idea from the book Rocket Fuel, which is excellent. I've only read some of it, but I got the Cliffs Notes from my friend James Wedmore. And so,
nice.
Very do less. He read it and then told me.
Great.
So basically, each member of the team took on 1 to 2 metrics that they would track every single week to see, is what we're doing and what we're considering necessary actually working. And what's been so cool is, for example, we had invested money and time in, this is a minor example, but it applies to a lot of things. We had invested money and time in getting all these Instagram story graphics designed for a promotion. But because we actually have metrics where we are keeping score of what gets us results, we found they didn't work as well. Like my random selfie stories in the car get way more swipe ups. So that was something that was do more that we could completely let go of. And our results are coming much more from the do less way. But we only would have known that if we were tracking our analytics. So I recommend everybody, it doesn't mean you have to do this if you're not a business owner or whatever, but we all have factors that we know where things are working or they're not. And so having a weekly scorecard is a really helpful way to keep us on track and to say, oh, this thing that I think is necessary to do all the time is not even getting me a result. So what am I doing? I'm just going to stop doing that.
It's funny because I think of that also as like the easiest place that we go into comparison, which is part of this like perfect patriarchal structure, like the perfect, beautiful, obviously paid for graphic will definitely be better than me, like with my messy hair and my children in the backyard. And
Yeah.
and then that not being true. So it's a perfect example, I think.
That's also so true. People are craving what's real. People crave real. And so the great news is real is very do less, because you don't have to remember what you said or do hair and makeup or script it, or like you can show up as yourself. And I find, at least in my business and certainly in my life as well, in all areas, the more I show up and the less I try to be or do something other than who I am, the better results I get in every area.
Okay, there's so many juicy parts of your book that I want to touch on while we get to actually chat with you. And I had really three specific, I want to share with you, like, if we can get to it, three of the chapters that were my favorite and why. And then I have just simple questions, the same three questions for you about them. So
great.
The first one I'm going to ask you is, what do you really want people to know? Because I know you've done a ton of podcast interviews and speeches around the book. And I wonder if there's something you didn't get to talk about, or something that's real and fresh in the moment now in that particular theme. And then the two other questions are, where are you thriving in your life in this theme, and where are you challenged in your life in this theme?
Great.
Okay, so the first chapter, I mean, I was taught everybody needs to do less if you're relating to anything that we've talked about so far, which I know you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be out walking with me, taking a break from life as your number one podcast choice. So, chapter 2 is called Your Worth, Cycles, and Momentum. And right away, Kate, I just love, and it's just how you speak. You know, you use metaphors that really ground things into tangible understanding. And a lot of people are talking about worthiness and cycles and momentum, but not in the way that I found myself dropping in your book, and really recognizing the way that you worded what's happening in our culture and our society, with women really wanting to step out of these structures and systems that are not working, and we're opting out, and we're really trying to pave a new way. And you talk about how our cycles connect to this. I wrote down a quote from it, my favorite quote from that chapter. So you wrote that society values the traditional qualities of masculine over the feminine. And then you created this list that I found to be so resourceful for actually looking at and going, okay, if I relate to that, what do I do? So it's like you listed the masculine that we could fall into, and then the feminine. And by the way, I also believe some women listening to this podcast, like, swung the pendulum way the other way and are like far too into the feminine.
Totally.
It's also like, I loved that list because it also is like, where is the balance and embodiment of both energies that we have? And two really stood out to me on the list. So on the masculine side, you wrote results oriented, which related to the feminine side, which is process oriented. And then on the masculine side, there was the win-lose mentality versus the being versus doing mentality. So results-oriented versus process-oriented, win-lose versus being versus doing. So I want to start with the first question for you. What do you really want people to know? What are you really trying to say that, I don't know if there's something you haven't got to say about this yet, or just really is present for you right now around this?
Well, the other day, so it's so funny. The things that we think are obvious are not obvious.
Never.
So this whole book to me is about worthiness, as you said. And to me, it's incredibly obvious that this is a really similar book as my first book, Money, A Love Story, which was all about our worth and our money. And this book is about our worth and our time. And I posted something the other day, which is that a woman's relationship with her time is inextricably related to her relationship with her worth. And I couldn't believe how many people were like, whoa. And I thought that that's what I wrote in this book, but apparently not, because the whole point of certainly this chapter, but the whole book is, if you want, like, time is not the issue. time is this stand-in for what's really underneath here, which is that we don't think we're enough. So we say we don't have enough time, but really we just don't think we're enough. And so tracking my own cycle and living cyclically with, my menstrual cycle and also the moon gave me such a profound sense of being enough, because I'm the same as the moon. I'm the same as Mother Nature with the 4 seasons. I'm the same as every other woman whose body is cycling. And so because my body was made from this divine spark that all of nature was made of, it just makes me feel so enough. And then actually listening to that is the most practical way I have yet to find of loving myself. And so that's really been, that's what I want people to know about that, is that this is about your worth, but using the way you relate to your time as the inroad.
Okay, so are you willing to share where you're really rocking it in that mindset of like results oriented versus process oriented, win lose versus being versus doing, or just worth cycles and momentum? Where are you really rocking it that you want to celebrate? And then is there anywhere in this theme that you're turning toward a new form of challenge, or still evolving, or facing something currently that is not so easy?
So where I'm really rocking it is knowing what I know about cycles of creativity, I knew that after this book launch, I was going to need a break. And I'm so grateful that I planned that ahead of time, because if you don't plan these things ahead of time, your schedule inevitably gets full, and then you wonder where all your time went, and you gave it away to all the other people. That's where it went. But I didn't do that because I knew ahead of time. So I blocked out most of June, July, and August to do no interviews, no speaking gigs, no blah, 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 and no promotions thus far. And so I just feel like that. And here's the thing. The reason in the entrepreneurial world, I see so much keeping going and doing things all the time, because worth is tied up in being busy and always doing something. I am really rocking it in terms of knowing that I am worthy, even if I am not promoting something, even if I am not making money that month, right? Like I understand this takes some financial forethought as well. Or foresight. So I get it. I'm using my example. Not everyone listening can be like, well, it's easy for you to say, I can't take July and August off. Yes, I'm not taking them off. I'm just doing less. And so that's one area that I think I'm rocking it with. And really knowing that the enjoyment of my summer is equally as valuable as the book launch, being, pitching a million more podcasts. Like, it just doesn't matter. And that's one thing. A growth edge around this would be, I definitely can get caught up in the numbers in our business. I think that serves me really well, but also, sometimes I feel like I'd like to find a little bit more of the dance between creative inspiration and doing something just because it's like the heartbeat of my soul, and doing something because it makes sense from a numbers perspective. So that would be the being versus doing, and that continues to be a growth edge for me for sure.
Anything you're holding on to as you're flexing that muscle more, as a resource or a check-in point for yourself?
Yeah, it's meditating in my closet, just like a 10 minutes a day, just sitting in my closet by myself. I don't use an app or anything. I really need silence to hear myself.
Beautiful. I laugh because I can think of pictures specifically you posted of yourself in your closet.
Yeah.
I actually think that because you were doing a lot of podcast interviews in your closet at one point too, right? And I thought, I can't wait to get you outside for one.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I thought I would share too. I thought about this, just where I'm rocking it and where I'm feeling tested in worth cycles and momentum. And I think where I'm rocking it is for 5 years now, since I learned about women's cycles. When I first started my business, I shifted my signature program to run off of all the women in Mentor Masterclass tracking their cycle. So we have a survey that goes out to them every week, and they mark where their cycle, and I shifted the content so that they can do it based off the most empowering stage of their cycle. So rather than like marketing week being every week 4, marketing week for everyone is when you're ovulating, and you do that
so
part.
Cool. I love that.
And we've been doing, and it's cool because I have the metrics and numbers and watched how the success of my students, because we chart it and graph their literal paying clients and number of coaching clients that come in, exponential growth since implementing that and getting even better at it. And so I do the same thing with them, and I'm really good at that. Even being pregnant, I now just go off the moon since I'm not bleeding, and so I feel like I rock it in that area. I'm really confident and have a strong relationship with my business working cycles. And then where I'm struggling is being the bread earner and of the household right now, and then going into this tender time, not becoming outcome focused, not worried on the numbers and the metrics, and really allowing myself to turn toward innovation versus control, and trusting that the innovative, creative energy will always be enough, that we'll be able to survive and make ends meet in that relationship.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have time to talk about another chapter?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, great. Okay, the next, it's actually chapter 1, going back to the global evidence of doing less. And I loved this because for that part of my mind that wanted to dig into the facts, I just thought you provided so many amazing facts about how it's not just women and small businesses. It's like this is something we are sensing worldwide with larger companies in many different areas in life. And you put this equation in there of working less and having freedom is what equals creativity and productivity. And you showed just so much proof, which I think it just made me feel really confident right from the start of digging into the practices in the book. And by the way, the book is just such an experiential practice, which I love too. So I wonder, same questions, what you would say about this. What do you really want people to know? And that feels fresh to you. Where are you struggling and really rocking it in that area?
Yeah, so I will say it's not really fresh, but I really want people to know it's still the same thing. Yeah. I really want people to know that, well, okay, here's what's fresh that I didn't put in the book. We operate according to the 40-hour work week arbitrarily. It is not evidence-based. It's not based on human beings. It's certainly not based on women's bodies. And it is not based on the data of how we're actually the most productive and effective. It is based on the Industrial Revolution. And we've just not upgraded since then. So it's outmoded. It's old-fashioned. It makes no sense. So that's what I want people to know. And I understand not everybody can work less hours, work fewer hours, but what's really important is how we do things, not necessarily what we do. So if you need to show up at work 40 hours a week, well, how are you doing that? Are you giving yourself breaks? Are you being focused? Are you working in a non-distracted way so that your wires aren't fried at the end of the day? When you focus and take on one thing at a time at work and take adequate breaks, then I hear so often from women wanting to start businesses, I have nothing left to give my business at the end of the day because I'm so fried from my day job. And just like putting the kids in bed and cleaning up the kitchen just about does me in. And it is because of the way we're working at work, and we don't have to work that way. So that's what I want people to know. Mike and I have just decided to go down to a 4-hour work week. And have the girls home with us one weekday a week, instead of having our nanny. And that's really exciting. I'm excited to give it a go.
Will you
I've
have
been
them on the
asked.
same day or separate days?
Yeah, we're going to have them on the same day together.
Cool.
So we have like a family home day. Yeah. The truth is, like, I've been reporting in on this data interviews, and like, I don't need to have 5 days a week to work. I just don't, because we don't. So I'm going to stop doing that. So that's cool. I would say a growth area, or like a feeling challenged or tested in this area. I still like will get in the flow with things and not take a break, because I think like just answering one more email is going to somehow make a difference. So I could be better about like setting my timer and getting up every 45 minutes or so. But I've gotten better.
Beautiful. Okay. Chapter 10, Becoming a Time Bender. I love the story that you share about Penelope, where she is just getting dressed, trying on all the dresses, not caring about being late, bringing in the moment, and like that she just loves what she's doing because she's focused on what she's doing. And just the reminder, and I have that experience with Violet all the time when I'm trying to rush her, get her out the door. She's just this total reminder of being our greatest teacher. And I'm always trying not to condition that out of her. So it makes me very conscious of those moments. And you talk about the Newtonian versus the Einstein time theories. And you share this mantra, I am the source of time. And I love this chapter particularly has like the whole book is full of small experiments that we can do to try these things on tangibly. And I love that. So I just wanted to hear your take on this particular piece, what you really want people to know about bending time and where you're rocking it and feeling maybe challenged.
Yeah, I really want people to know that time is relative, and their experience of time is really based on their thoughts and their feelings and their energy in the moment, and we can change it anytime we want to. And that not having enough time is an illusion. I mean, I'm not a quantum physicist, but like all time is now. Time, it's an illusion. It's all an illusion. And so nobody at the end of their life is wishing they had gotten more done. And no one at the end of their life is wishing that they had gotten everywhere on time. Now, there is, by the way, like I also find it extremely disrespectful to be super, super late all the time, because that's saying your time is more important than someone else's time. So I'm not like somebody who's chronically 45 minutes late. And I've had friends like that, and they're no longer my friends because it drives me insane. So I'm also just saying I'm not giving you permission to say fuck it and stop showing up for the people in your life. And I would say where I'm rocking it in this area, I think, partially because it's summer, partially because the book launch is over. Like I'm just giving myself a lot of space. And on days where I'm feeling unfocused, I'm just like, well, I guess I'll just wander around the house. I guess I'll just like, it's really okay. Because I know that time is relative, and like me getting out those 10 things I needed to do this week versus next week versus the week after, it doesn't matter. And I always do the things that actually do. We always do. We just always do. So we don't need to worry about it so much. And then where I'm feeling tested, I'm always feeling tested in this area. I'm a total, if you've read The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks book, I'm a total time cop. Like I'm tested every single morning with Penelope trying to get out the door. Every morning. It's torture. So I will
we
say
were late today because Violet had to poop.
Yeah, well, see, I know
she's
bodily
like,
functions. It just is what it is.
A few more minutes, Mom. I just, like you're 15 minutes late to school already. I need you to be running and getting out your energy before you come back.
It's so true. I will say though, for any parents listening in, I said to Penelope, I said, listen, my daughter's 3 3/4. So, that's kind of the age range we're working with. I said, Penelope, mornings have been really hard lately. And they've been really hard because you will not get dressed and you're making it a big drama. What do you think could be a solution to that? And so we worked on a solution together. And the last 2 days, she has come downstairs from waking up in the morning dressed. And she's so proud of herself. So I also think that we can lean on everyone for solutions for these things, including our small children.
And not even for women listening who don't have kids, I think whether we're running our own small business or we are working a 9 to 5, we forget that we can communicate to invite other people into the problem solving just because it's not working for us. We're not being able to serve or be a part of at our greatest capacity because of this. And so I think it's an invitation to your 3-year-olds can handle that conversation and get into the solution with you, and so can your boss.
Yes, totally.
I am challenged in this area. Well, of course, I look at how I went straight to that one. Here's where I'm challenged. I'm just future tripping a lot on my abilities with 2 kids, which is silly because I just don't even know how it's going to be. And also just because what's going well is I feel really great right now with Violet's age. I work about 19 hours a week, which is not all work, but I only know that because that's when she's in daycare. And some of that is used for self-care. And I never say, you'll never hear me say I don't have enough time. I just don't, that never comes out of my mouth anymore after myself too, learning that time is an emotion and it's about focus and priorities. And so in that 19 hours, I do my self-care, I lead a team, I travel, I plan travel, I plan retreats, I have weekly content, I'm running a multiple 6-figure business, I've got one-on-one clients and women around the world, and it's more than enough. I never feel like I don't have enough. And a lot of that, where the trouble comes is I'm like, oh, I'm starting over with an infant. So I'm gonna have to like get, feel into that new routine and create that new structure and routine again. And so I'm just kind of in that right now, that how much can I pull in the future version of myself to create the boundaries now? And then what do I just need to wait to find out and trust in the moment that I'll know, how to do with time.
Beautiful.
So the last one, and it was actually a really short chapter, shorter than the others, was chapter 13 on surrender. And the whole chapter was really about control and releasing your grip, which resonates so much with me right now. And you shared a really beautiful story about sleep training and a hard mothering moment that you had, and just admitted that. And I just wanted to touch base on that before we close, because I think surrender, it's such an important word, and how to do it in an empowered way, I really think you've navigated. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you want people to know about that and where you're rocking that and anywhere that feels challenging.
Well, the flip side to surrender is really trust. Like, we can't fully let go and surrender unless we are cultivating a practice of trust in ourselves, trust in the divine design, trust in something bigger than ourselves, like knowing that there really is more going on here than our human lives and our personalities. And that requires some kind of spiritual practice. And it doesn't have to be like, my spiritual practice is my life. So it's not like, there's people with the altars, with the thing, and they do stuff, and I don't. Just being really honest, like, I don't do those things. And there's a lot of spiritual teachers who are like, oh, it has to be this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, it really doesn't, because I honestly am one of the most spiritual people I know, and I don't do that shit. So, however, some people need more accessories for their spiritual life, and that's wonderful. But basically, like, I just surrender. Surrender requires trust. True surrender requires trust, and true trust requires leaning into something greater than your human self, whatever that means for you. So I cultivate that every day. And I talk to God, I pray, I ask for things. I sit in my closet and I meditate. I ask my higher self what she thinks about a lot of things. So something I'm rocking right now is just like really getting good at tapping in and asking my interior self what I think, instead of looking externally for answers, because the right answer is never out there. And then a growth, like feeling challenged in this area. We're at a crossroads in our business, to be perfectly honest. Like, we could do anything. And so it's just a matter of, I don't know, so anything is possible. And mostly that's really exciting. And then every now and again, it's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally relate. That's what I would share too, is I'm rocking it in not doing the same things. Like, this podcast was an example that just happened to work, trying something new. And at the same time, releasing the fear that I have to do the same things. And the innovation process of doing new things. So I'm curious, Kate, this piece of work has been so beautiful, and I'm wondering your experience now that it's out in the world, and for a few months now you've gotten to receive the feedback and just kind of witness how it's taken hold and what people are finding valuable. And I'm most curious about what door that's opened up for you. Any insight I know you said it's like a clean slate for you guys right now in business, in what direction. So I'm just wondering if there's any little dreams or visions that have opened up that, one, how's it been with the book coming out and seeing this? And then what has that opened up for you as far as where you're going next?
Well, it's been mostly really fun. I love being with people. I've gotten to reconnect with a lot of old friends. I've gotten to, make new friends. It's been so much fun. And, just being available to my community online has been such a pleasure. Being in my, DMs on Instagram and commenting back and forth and really being in the conversation. I think that I watched other women who I admire and the way that they've interacted with their communities or not interacted with their communities. And I thought I needed to be like that. And it's felt so good over the last couple of years to give myself permission to be like I am, which is more of a golden retriever type. So that's been great because it's who I am and it feels good. It fills me up and it builds our community and everyone wins. And then in terms of what's next, I have so many ideas. And I don't know which one I'm going to focus on because I know I want to be the power washer, not the fine mist, in terms of traction with my ideas. And so I'm just so grateful that I gave myself some space this summer and didn't think that pushing every day is required, because, I do think that we have to practice what we preach. And so I know that the only way I'm going to know what the next right thing is to give myself space to let it emerge. And because if I was busy every single day, I would miss the memo. So I'm just here, just kind of open, just listening.
Thank you for sharing that. That was medicine for me to hear too.
Good.
Thank you for walking with us, Kate. Thank you, sisters, women, for walking alongside us. I hope all of you feel inspired to pick up Kate's book, Do Less. I will put a link to it in the description notes of our episode today so you can get access to it and more information about her and connecting with her if you feel called. Thank you, Kate. It was so sweet to get to catch up with you and hear your voice and see how everything has gone since this beautiful creation has been launched into the world.
Thanks, Jeannine. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you,
Bye.
ladies. We'll talk to you all soon. Bye.